Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a few tracks off of an album by an act named Handsome Ass Dan, titled Bacchus, and if we switch over to here, I'm not sure whether it's Bacchus or Bacchus. It is an album from Handsome Ass Dan. We're going to be checking 3 tracks off of this. We're going to be checking out That's What She Said, Tic Tac Toe, and Money in the Way, with different featured artists as I understand it. You've got Hypatia here, Travi Austin here, and then we've got Groovebox. So we're going to listen through each of these tracks from start till finish, and we're going to hear what you think. Let's go. Interesting start to it, interesting foley here. Just before we get into it, and I know I'm interrupting the most important part of the song, which is effectively the start of it, I like this instantiation of like a crowd element and that groove to it. I like these different mobile phone sounds, the little notifications and stuff like that. It piques your interest. It's not something you hear a lot, but sound design is often equally as important as the actual tune itself.
Line was ringing off the hook and I was falling for everything I know I shouldn't. It's revolving, running circles in my head. Play it till the day I'm dead. That's just what she said. Calling, line was ringing off the hook and I was falling for everything I know I shouldn't. It's revolving, playing circles in my head till the day I'm dead. That's just what she said.
Dope. Yeah. Catchy vocal line with the bass line that loops really nicely into it. A little bit of distortion in it. I like a little bit of grittiness and uncertainty there. The drums are nice and punchy with a flow that's easy to go along with. And, oh, this is Hypatia, I assume. Nice contrast with the way the Handsome Ass Dan vocalized before. Or was melodic rapping, I suppose.
What else you gotta do? Yeah, you're nice, brand new. I see it in your eyes, looking like you can't survive. So roll with me, cause it's live like Saturday. By the way, I know, okay, you still for one, bet you ain't leaving anyway. I know your mindset, once I hear that 808, you got the feeling like you can't be tamed.
Nice. I like the fact that when we're talking about 808s, we're literally instantiating them as if to say, yeah, no, we're aware of the story, and it's almost like we want the music production to match the tale and for it to be stylistically cohesive. It's great.
Range, you mentally entertain. How you flow, we right there where this
Great job having the drums cut out at this point. Nice way to sort of switch it up a little bit.
So what we gotta do, turn up. So what we gonna do, turn up. So what we gotta do, turn up.
Great job having this, like, in a short form track like this, because 2.5 minutes, even though a lot of songs are this length nowadays, it's short. It's short, man. I mean, like, I grew up in a time where, like, the average track was like 3.5, and now they're 2.5, and you've just got to do so much to try and fit in what you need within that shorter form factor, and there's absolutely no filler in this. I think Handsome Ass Dan has done a great job of staging the different elements of the production in here. And Hypatia, again, Hypatia is a nice foil to what they're doing here and the aim for it. I assume that that's the Hypatia is the person who wants things to get lit, and that riser there. Got some fantastic EDM-ish kind of early 2010s production in there, in LA with the big kind of like drops and stuff like that. But then it's got that blend of hip-hop as well, obviously. Because if I'm not incorrect, basically this project, Handsome Ass Dan, incorporates elements of like trap and EDM, hip hop, and also backpack rap, which is a difficult thing for me to say for some reason. But also I haven't heard of backpack rap before, so this is kind of nice to check that out. You know, it's something new. Oh, it's nice to have Hypatia laid over top, really subtly. Nice use of vocal chops there. filtering out the highs here. You got those phone sounds at the end as well. It's dope. It's really professional. You know, it doesn't seem like this is their first rodeo. You know, this seems like they're experienced musicians who understand that you can't just have a track, have a verse, chorus, verse, or a chorus, verse, chorus in this instance, and that be that. You've got to add other little points of movement in here to keep people entertained, because you don't want people to just listen to the first track and get bored. You've got to link them on to the next one. That's what the magic of an album is. It's meant to be a journey rather than like a listen and then drop it kind of deal, for obvious reasons, you know. I liked the perkiness, the percussion here. Again, like that grittiness to it. It worked well with the really intense sub bass. Again, having Hypatia harmonize on top of Handsome Ass Dan, and that ending chorus was pretty. It was really splendid. It filled out the frequency spectrum well, and because her voice was obviously higher than Handsome Ass Dan's, they stacked well on top of each other. There were no resonant frequencies. The production's solid. Yeah, my understanding of this track is it's simply Handsome Ass Dan reliving the effect that this woman had on him and what she said, and maybe the fond memories that he has of her, especially related to music, like with the drops and like the 808s and stuff like that, how she used to feel when that stuff was involved. Great introduction to Handsome Ass Dan for sure. We've got Tic Tac Toe with Handsome Ass Dan and Travis Austin now, so we'll listen through that as well. A little bit of portamento to those 90s moogish synths.
Everybody lose somebody, but I do it like a hobby. Girl, I've been a little bit naughty, yeah. The rain it falls and wash away my sins, yeah. These pills got my walls caving in.
To be honest, this is a completely different vibe to That's What She Said, eh? So we've got some flexibility in the approach of the different tracks and songwriting within this album, which is good. You know, this is great as a second track, because it means that you're not going to just have the same thing repeated over and over. Ooh, classy. These soul R&B vibes are welcome here, with really perky synth layers on top, sidechain kicks. Nice use of that hook line there, tic tac toe there in time with those chord note kicks.
Around for days and days. These fuck boy ways need to be repaid. Now, I can't ever see how it ends. Well, but I pray it's just like it begins. Am I the man you need? Your kiss is death to me, or is it ecstasy?
Watch these games unfold. So, is the idea that we're talking about the games that people are playing and how it's just a part of life and how we've got to just stay on top and how we've got to win them? Sensational work with these backing vocals and everything like that, getting them all to sync together. They're very busy. You know, I can only imagine how it would have looked in the DAW that they were using. There would have been a lot of blocks in there. But I can tell that partly because of how busy it is and yet how well executed it is. We have musicians that know what they're doing, know the sound they want, and know how to achieve that. Those basses are pretty sick as well, aren't they? It's because it's not just that the notes make sense and there's a sense of musicality to it. It's also the fact that they have that similar sort of attack to the kick, where, I mean, that's just part of those, I think, the mixing and mastering, like the mastering chain, like the bus compressor on it or something like that. But at the same time, there's just like clear consideration of what instruments and what specific bass and kicks would be appropriate for each other. And I love the fact that we've put so much effort into it. Really tuneful vocal melodies here as well, alongside those harmonies on top. Oh, those falsettos are gorgeous, aren't they? stunning. Well done, handsome ass Dan and Trevi Austin. I'm not sure which parts Trevi Austin were in, but I'm going to assume that both of them were singing, right? For obvious reasons, and they both sounded pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how they came through in the mix, I'm wondering if that was Travis Austin up in the high range, because if they did, they hit those notes really cleanly. That was some fantastic falsetto or head voice work. Part of me is not even sure if that is necessarily like head voice. They could just have that natural range, and if so, that's fantastic. Yeah, it was a really classy, sophisticated track, and I enjoyed my time with it. Again, it's nice to have that sense of difference to that's what she said. It makes me excited for the final track we're going to listen to today, which is "Money in the Way." We've had variety. I don't know what we're going to get next, and that's awesome. "Money in the Way." Oh, that's some interesting vocal modulation there with these filters on those What is that? Is that a synth, a piano, or like strings? Okay. Okay. Featuring Groovebox. Great theme, starting with that hook there. Again, a slightly longer track than what we've had recently at 3:10, but because I have had I've had reason to have confidence that they'll be able to carry this.
On this cloud, stay floating now. Joking while I smoke you out. Think I found my dopest route. And in my darkest days, head winds up in outer space. Blast off, up and away. The need to grind incessantly. Bills piling up, looking like stacks. How many more got racks on racks? Know damn well where I'm supposed to be at, and it don't mean that you gotta do me like that.
It's interesting that we're having this way of approaching it where we're not talking about the stacks we're necessarily making, but talking about the debts, how they're piling up like stacks. I think that's a fresh way of approaching it, because it's not like every single rap or hip hop artist is going to make those millions in the first month, like
Running, money
talk about hustling and grinding and stuff like that.
I keep running, and until that money come around, money in the way.
Money in the way. This harmony here with these synths and the interesting cluttery. I don't want to say cluttery percussion, like clangy percussion. What are they using as drum samples in this song? I like it. There's some alternative samples used, and I kind of dig it, to be honest. Really cool. Again, I know that we've obviously, this is the first time I necessarily had vocal modulation here, but I love the effect, how they haven't overdone it with those vibratos. They flutter downwards. They're not cutting to try and get to the right note over and over. This is a way that you can do auto-tune or meta-tune well. It's just finding that balance and figuring out where it's appropriate to, to use it.
Keep running. Feet to the ground, make a sound. Every time I do, I get figured out. How I'm gonna make it from the bottom now. Take a job, get cut, fucking betting on myself. No days off, hard work pays off. Smoke a fatty and walk that weight off. No scheming, no made off. Taking my shots like Jason Tatum. Throw it in the air, what you gonna do? Then it's raining down right in front of you.
Cool panning of those vocals there as well. Again, I'm getting sucked into the story at this point. I'd happily just listen to this on my own time. Considering the amount of review work I do, it's not something I say lightly.
2020 got so I'm coming in hot. Got something to prove with nothing to lose, yeah. And until that money come around, money in the way.
Yep, great. Sort of seamless transition back into that hook. Again, I love those 808s, those basses. Because it's not just how they sound cool, because they sound dope, but at the same time, it's how they've been EQ'd and how they've been processed, and how well they sit below those vocal parts, which I'm trying to figure out how they would do that. Like, obviously, I don't think they've sidechained the vocals, but the vocals must just be, literally, they must have just gotten rid of like the 150 to 200 hertz range. They must have just cut that out. That's how they get that brightness, and that's how they get to sit amongst all the mid and lows. Unless you've got like energy in that range, but I suppose that's why you work with vocalists who can just sit above it. That's cool. This is effectively my review of this track so far. I mean, this is my conclusion of my review of Bacchus by Handsome Ass Dan. 3 tracks today. That's What She Said featuring Hypatia, Tic Tac Toe featuring Travis Austin, and also Money in the Way featuring Groovebox. Excellent effort. I'm really happy with what I've heard so far from this musician, Handsome Ass Dan, and the people that were, other people that were involved in it. Each of these 3 tracks had their own sort of unique vibe to them. They showed off different angles of what Handsome Ass Dan is capable of as a musician and the tale that they wanted to tell within this. I'm trying to sort of think of an overall theme here. I think Bacchus, you know, is a god of like wine and partying and stuff like that, and entertainment or something like that. Is not necessarily Bacchus. Or maybe I'm right. I'm tripping. There's like there's a Greek or like Roman god related to that. If I'm not mistaken. I could be totally mistaken, but anyways, look, TLDR, basically, I think that this album is about Handsome Ass Dan trying to enjoy their life, but looking at the things that make that life enjoyable or make that life what it is. That's what she said, the people that Handsome Ass Dan meets and how they affect him. You know, tic-tac-toe, playing your game through life and trying to win or keep ahead of it. And then Money in the Way, having to grind and hustle every day, not taking a day off in order to eventually get to a point where you can feel like you're in a position where you're sort of successful, but until then, Money in the Way, right? The vocals from Hypatia, that's what she said, are splendid, lovely and tuneful, great vocal technique, comfortable within her range, well produced. Tic Tac Toe, Travis Austin, fantastic technique, nice high vocal range to sit on top of everything. Very happy with that as well. And Groovebox, I can only assume Groovebox is maybe doing the vocals in the chorus section, and was slightly, you know, a different approach to what Hypatia and Travis Austin were doing, and that's totally fine. You know, if you have the featured vocalist doing the same thing, you might as well have the same featured vocalist, right? Each of these musicians added to the way, the story, and the effect I think that Handsome Ass Dan was wanting from these, and overall I feel like they should all be proud of themselves for the work they've done on this album. The structure of each of these tracks, they typically started with a hook or an instrumental intro with the hook coming afterwards, and then you had like a verse or two, and then they were out. You know, there wasn't anything more than that. It was a combination of different elements that I mentioned before, but ultimately there was that kind of contemporary 2 to 3 minute flow where like you needed to tell your story, have that catchy hook, have interesting elements and compliment, and then your outies, right? And then your outies. I think testament to what was going on with accompaniment, you know, there are different instruments involved. You know, the bass parts, guitar parts that I think we had. Did we have guitar parts? Well, there were definitely synth strings and bass and drums and sort of some, you know, parts and other vocal chops and everything. There are a lot of different elements to appreciate and consider. There weren't necessarily any lead elements there. I think the other instruments were basically to establish a musical theme that the vocalists could pair off with, and that's fine. That's fine, you know. That's the purpose of these additional parts, you know, to elevate the story that's being told, and it's cool. It's cool. I don't think you could have necessarily felt like an instrumental solo in here. I don't know if it would have made it better. I like the fact that we occasionally had like the percussion bow out sometimes just to switch up the middle of a verse or something like that and keep it sounding fresh. I like that we had different ways of approaching these themes for different parts of the song, and that each section relatively distinct. All in all, it had a sense of musicality to it, and the performances in these tracks were well done and mindful to the thematics of it. The stories, or the themes of the track and the story, you know what I mean? You know what I mean. Finally, the production, recording, mixing, mastering. You know, again, it sounds like a commercial release. It's not just the sound design that I was talking about, that's what she said, but also it's just stereo panning, filtering through instruments, fixed chains, mixing, mastering. You know, the limiting compression was great. Again, there was some automation there as well, and I dig what was going on there, as well as the sound design again at the start of that's what she said at the start. It's just these little things that elevate a track and make it better, and if you screw up the post-production, the studio stuff, you've screwed your album, effectively, no matter how well you performed it. So, well done for taking that seriously. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, please do go show them some love. and check out the rest of the album. But until then, thank you for watching this review of Handsome Ass Dan's Bacchus. Please do go check out those various social medias and a Spotify page if you do want to go check out the rest of the album. Stay cool and stay safe, and please also remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either hell more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.